What did your ops sergeant say that exposed your battalion's entire plan as flawed? We were planning this massive training exercise. 200 soldiers, 3 days in the field, simulating a combat rescue mission. Battalion had been working on it for months. The briefing room was packed. Every officer and senior NCO crammed in there. Colonel Vance stood at the front with his huge map covered in arrows and unit symbols. Phase 1, Alpha Company secures the landing zone here. Phase 2, Bravo moves through this valley. Phase 3, Charlie establishes overwatch positions on these ridges. The plan looked perfect on paper. Color-coded routes, timing down to the minute, contingencies for every possible scenario. Vance had clearly put serious work into this. Our operations sergeant was Staff Sergeant Keith Holloway. Quiet guy, never spoke up in meetings unless he had something important to say. 15 years in the Army, mostly behind a desk. He sat in the back corner studying the map while the colonel talked. I saw his eyes moving back and forth like he was calculating something. The briefing went on for an hour. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. Radio frequencies, supply points, medical evacuation routes. Everything covered in exhaustive detail. Any questions? Vance asked at the end, looking pleased with himself. Silence. Nobody wanted to be the guy who poked holes in the colonel's masterpiece. These briefings usually ended with everyone nodding and moving on. Then Holloway raised his hand. Sir, what time does Phase 1 kick off? 0600 hours, Sergeant. Why? And the landing zone is here? Grid reference November, Victor 847392? Correct. Holloway pulled out a small notebook, flipped through some pages. Sir, that landing zone is a bowl-shaped depression surrounded by higher terrain on 3 sides, correct? Yes. Provides natural cover from observation. And we're doing this exercise in March? Vance looked confused. Yes, Sergeant. March 15th through 17th. What's your point? Holloway stood up, walked to the map, pointed at the landing zone. Sir, that low ground is going to be completely socked in with fog until at least 0900. Probably later. The room went quiet. You could hear people shifting in their seats. How do you know that? Vance asked. I grew up 20 miles from this training area. Spent every spring fishing in these valleys. That specific spot always fills with morning fog in March. Cold air drainage from the surrounding hills. Doesn't burn off until mid-morning when the sun gets high enough. Vance stared at the map. His perfect plan assumed clear visibility at sunrise. Alpha Company was supposed to secure the landing zone so helicopters could insert Bravo Company at 0630. The helicopters can navigate in fog, someone offered. Holloway shook his head. Not safely into a bowl surrounded by terrain, plus your ground units won't be able to see more than 20 feet. Can't secure what you can't see. A captain spoke up. We could delay the start time, then phases 2 and 3 get pushed back. Holloway continued. Phase 3 requires Charlie Company to reach the ridgeline before sunset for night observation. You delay phase 1 by 3 hours. Charlie's climbing that ridge in darkness, which means they need night vision gear, which means you need to rewrite the equipment list and requisition process. The dominoes kept falling. One small weather detail nobody had checked, and the entire operation was unraveling. Vance looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. Why didn't anyone mention this before? Sir, I only noticed because I recognized the exact terrain feature. Most people wouldn't know about the fog pattern unless they'd spent time there. The colonel sat down heavily. We briefed the division commander tomorrow. He's flying in specifically to observe this exercise. Nobody said anything. A botched training exercise in front of a general was career suicide. Holloway flipped through his notebook again. Sir, if we move the landing zone 2 kilometers east to this open plateau, we avoid the fog issue. It's higher ground, better drainage. I've camped there dozens of times, usually clear by dawn. He pointed to a different spot on the map. We'd need to adjust the approach routes, but the timeline stays the same. Maybe add 15 minutes to phase 1 for the longer movement. The operations officer grabbed a marker, started sketching the modifications. Within 30 minutes, they had a revised plan that actually worked. Vance looked at Holloway. Sergeant, why are you stuck behind a desk? You clearly know terrain analysis better than half my staff. Someone has to do the paperwork, sir. The exercise went off perfectly 2 weeks later. Clear skies at the new landing zone, everything running on schedule. The general was so impressed he used it as a model for other units. Holloway got a commendation, also got offered a job on the battalion planning staff. Turned it down, said he preferred operations where he could keep an eye on the details everyone else missed. 6 months later, we deployed to Afghanistan. Guess who battalion chose as the terrain analysis specialist? Holloway spent the deployment identifying good landing zones, bad approach routes, and hidden terrain features that would have gotten people killed. Saved more lives with a notebook and local knowledge than most soldiers saved with weapons. The colonel retired last year. At his ceremony, he told the Holloway story. Said it taught him that the best expert in the room is usually the quietest one. Holloway still works operations, still sits in the back taking notes, still speaks up exactly once per briefing, usually to catch the one thing everyone else missed.